Hi, good morning. Hope everything's going good for you. I'm going to talk to you today about babies. I know that's kind of crazy, but I had several dreams about babies. And what's happening right now is judgment upon the church, and a boatload of stuff is being exposed. And it's really awful to watch the process. But hopefully this video will help you understand. Okay. In the Bible it tells us that every man is given the measure of faith, or a measure of faith, whatever. And that God is no respecter of persons. So basically what it is because of salvation, every single man is given an open bank account, and they can go to the bank and say, hey, there was a bank account open in my name. Oh yeah, come on in, here you go. And then they access the faith by believing that the bank is there and going to it and saying, I'm claiming the fact that I do have a bank account. And once they access the faith, they can spend it either on fear or they can spend it on love. And as I walk you through these, you're going to see, hopefully you're going to see what the heart of the enemy is. Okay, so in the first dream, I came upon this grandmother, and it's important that you know it's a grandmother, because that means it's 3 generations back. Okay, it's a grandmother, and she has an infant that she's taking care of, and then she has like a toddler. Okay, and I didn't really speak much, and my name means truth. So when I came to see her, I found her in her condition. Okay, so truth finds you in whatever condition you're in. And so I come upon them, and it's a mess. I mean, they have light, and I didn't see any darkness. I saw lots of light, but they were just a mess. And so I was like, okay, the baby's diaper needs to be changed. I can help you here. And the grandmother was just like overwhelmed, obviously, with the state that she was in. She couldn't really reach outward and give the care that was needed for her grandchildren. She was just, it's like, here we go again. You know, everything's just piled on me. No one asked me my permission. No one cares about me. Do you see how that works? No one cares about my volition. They just keep piling stuff on me, and I'm supposed to be salt and light. So I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to keep acting and playing my part. I'm going to be grandma, okay? But there's no real love or exchange going on there. So I take the baby from her, and I bring the toddler over to a place where I could actually find a place to change the baby's diaper. I could start the process of cleanup. The grandma didn't really even move, and I said, oh, once I removed the babies, I was like, honey, you need a new blouse. So I took the new blouse off of her, and what's really weird is when truth exposes, you're still not really seeing the heart of the matter. You're just seeing the garments that they clothed themselves in to hide the fact that they did not have the love they needed. So I took off her shirt in the presence of all these people. No one saw anything, and immediately she was clothed and in her right mind. So then I went around the corner and I started dealing with the babies, and she followed me after that was done. And then when I started looking through the diaper bag, I was like, well, this is all for the baby. What's in here for the... And I looked again, and God had provided something for the toddler. I was just like, yeah, wow. Despite all of the crap that we've been handed down from generation to generation to generation, God himself is stepping in with truth, exposing what has been done and providing what needed to be done in its place. Isn't that awesome? That's enough to get cuckoo over. It's just so exciting. Okay, so then in this next dream, I'm going to go really slow with it because in it is the heart of the enemy, okay? I was in a 4 square room, and it looked like a gymnasium because it had the, the gym floors, all that kind of stuff. Sorry, my earpiece keeps falling out of my ears. It was a 4-piece, and I was on the right corner over here, and the baby was over here, and the enemy, or let's just say a man who did not mean well for the baby, who was more like a captor, was holding her. And I saw her from across the room, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and everything inside me just wants to go and just pick up that baby and just love that baby and get her away from her captor. And I just want to show her love, and I want to give all the goodness of God to this baby. I want to give everything, all the mama love. But I couldn't. I had to wait and wait and wait and wait. Finally, the baby turned around on the captor's legs, standing straight up, looked me straight in the eye, held up her hands, and went like this. I zoomed. I didn't cut any corners. Here's the thing. I didn't cut any corners. I ran the process, the 4 square. I ran the 4 square to her. And when I got to her, I held out my hands. She came to me. I did not cut across the gym, the 4 square. I went the same route back. And in fluid motion, I handed her to Mama God. And she fell into her arms, and this cover came up around the baby that was blue. Now, normally when I see God blue, it has this light and this purity about it. This was not that kind of blue. And I was a little concerned about it because I'm very, very cautious when it comes to any of the 5 senses, to make sure this is a dream from God and not a dream from the enemy, because the enemy loves to give you dreams and experiences, spiritual experiences that are drenched in the 5 senses. So I was like, did I touch anything? No. Everything was spirit and fluid. And so when she passed into the covers wrapped her around, and she stayed in the covers for a little bit, and then she was like wanting out of the covers, which is exactly what the heart of God is out of, or is after. Okay, so here's what I want you to know. I recently went through an experience with my niece's son, and it was a 4-hour process to bond with him. But at the end of the bonding process, he was bonded to me, and we were playing catch, and he knew I loved him, and I knew he understood that there was love between us, is what I'm trying to say, okay? And that whole process has to do with volition. Okay, so there are 2 umbrellas. There's an umbrella that is God's, and it's volition, and will or desire is under it. Okay, there's another one that's the enemy's, and his is he's fine with having choice or control. His is control and obligation. Okay, so volition, will or choice, and this one is control, obligation. Okay. So the enemy, the captor, had her by obligation. But you can't, everybody knows you can't keep a baby just by obligation. You have to give the baby treats, things the baby wants, things that will keep the baby interested. Because the enemy has been after something for a very, very long time, and it is volition. He wants to give a child, he doesn't mind giving a child everything they want to bind that child to him, because he wants the child to feel like there is no choice. Okay? So, just 2 days ago, I came across a video, and it absolutely ripped my heart out. But I understand something today that I didn't understand then. Okay, a lot of the ministers in our churches, they had a real experience with God, but immediately the enemy came and he piggybacked on the root system. And he got down deep, and the process of growth is so sacred that a parent should be doing everything in their power not to interrupt it. My kids are 20 and 22, and I'm still not pushing them to do anything because the growth process is so sacred. And by now, you've got people that are already judging whether or not that child is successful. Well, Liam's in college and Lucas is at home with his mom and he doesn't have a job and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's what you don't know is that there are spiritual jobs and there are natural jobs. And in the body of Christ, we don't judge each other. We come alongside each other and we help each other. Let me tell you something about spiritual work. It is the hardest job you will ever do. And if you are not spiritually equipped, it is like asking you to go out and fix a transformer when you are not a certified electrician. Why don't you go ahead and do that and see what happens? Okay? The next time you want to judge a spiritual person because they don't measure up to your natural ideals, you go ahead and think of this analogy. You are required by your city to go fix a transformer, and you are not a certified electrician. Okay? That is a tremendous weight. Okay? So spiritually bent people are certified by the Spirit of God to do their job. And it takes everything they have to do it. And their attacks are within the Spirit. And it is constant. It's like a barrage. Okay? So, it's the same kind of thing, but it's just in a different realm. Okay? The natural people, they get attacked on the job. They get those kind of things all the time, and it's a pain in the butt. And I understand why you would want to judge someone who's in the Spirit, because you're like, they're doing nothing. You don't know. They don't know what you're going through because they're not doing you, and you don't know what they're going through because you're not doing them. Just stop the judgment, okay? So I'm going to get back to my example. This particular person was thrust into the ministry when he was very, very, very young. I know that's no excuse, but here's the deal. It missed volition. Volition is everything. Okay? So this person, because he had such a charismatic gift, the enemy made sure to offer him the limelight when he was very young. And because he had spiritual intel, but no real guidance, because 3 generations back, volition was not really part of the game. It was survival, okay? He fell into all kinds of traps, okay? And once you fall into a trap of the enemy, you're going to need deliverance. And he didn't get that, okay? So it just got worse and worse and worse. And it got to the point where he didn't know how to get out. And now that all of this stuff is being exposed, and the sad thing is you reap what you sow. So if all of your sowing is in the limelight, you're going to reap in the limelight. I'm so sorry, but that is how it goes, and the enemy knows that. So along with tremendous bondage, the enemy's going to try to just lay upon you guilt and shame and all that. But when you come to Daddy God through truth, all of that is washed away, and you are clothed in humility. It's the one thing you lacked when you were shoved into the limelight, was humility. Because if you know your position, which is here, then you can rise up in the process, in unison with Daddy God. Otherwise, if you're like this, it's just accusation, accusation, accusation against God, and you never come into unity. Okay, it always has to be like this. This is how it goes. Okay, so when I was watching the video about him, and that all of the stuff that he's being accused of, this is what's interesting, is that these victims had went to the elders of the church, and the elders of the church said, we're not going to, shush, not now. And so can you imagine the victims who are supposed to be under the leadership of this pastor, and they're getting shushed by the elders? Yeah, they're getting shushed by the elders. Okay, so they have not only do they not have any example of love, they have example of the worst that the enemy can do. Okay, so I'm saying all that to say that when these pastors are put in this position, don't you dare come upon them and judge them. You gather around them in the love that you know is true. The love you absolutely know is true. Don't you say one word about what's up. That's between them and God, okay? And you start praying a prayer, Daddy God, bring them to volition. Bring them to the point where they get to choose, where they get to start making their choices. Because to be in this position, there are some things that are absolutely required of them before they can even come to this position. And once they've done that, then you can start praying, Daddy God, would you please show them that you have good things for them, and that their life is not over. They do not need to give up. They do not need to give in to the enemy. And you surround them with the love you know. All the prayers of love that you can possibly ask for those people, you ask, because they are going to need it. We do not want to lose one. I don't care if you value them or you don't. God does. And He's the one that matters. Love wins, okay? So anyways, I just want you to know that we're going to have a boatload of babies coming in. And they are babies. This is the one thing that got me at Restoration Village. They would give all this love and care to the people that were coming to CAC. But the mamas, it's a really hard balance, because the mamas that are there, they are just as traumatized as the ones that are at the CAC, even more so. And they have not grown up emotionally. They are absolutely in the body of an adult, but they are probably even less than they are. It's just a big mess of survival. And so they didn't really know how to meet those moms. I'm sure they do now, because they've had 30 years to grow up. But when I was there back in 2008, it was still really, mamas, you are responsible for these children, and legally you are. Legally you are. You still have to do the right thing by these babies. But when I came there, I had just been behind my eyes for less than 6 months. I was fully integrated for 6 months. And I had matured emotionally because I had a wonderful counselor, Josh Newman. He's now in New Mexico, but he was a wonderful counselor. God had provided him. And he helped me get through emotional maturity. And by the time I got to Restoration Village, I felt like I was about 20, even though I was 38. it just boom, 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 just going all the way through it, getting building block after building block. And honestly, nothing really changed absolutely dramatically until I read the book Boundaries. And I realized that there is no way that I can begin to plot out what is my responsibility and what is others until I know my own desire. Desire is a good thing, and God gave it to us. Let us begin that process. You can't rush through it. You have to go through it. Okay? A little bit at a time. I love you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.